Dear friends, I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom and all the best for this Shabbat and for the Jewish people around the world. And these weeks we read the Torah portion about the beginnings of the Jewish people. And we talk about our forefathers. And the few anecdotes that the Torah tells us about their life carry messages that are eternal. They tell us about the values that are so important to us as Jews, that besides adhering to the 613 mitzvahs, we understand a little bit about what's our drive, how we want to live, what our character should be like, how we emulate God in His ways. And one of these things we see in this week's Parsha. Yaakov runs away from home, from Israel, and he goes to Haran in the Iraq, Kurdistan area of the world. And he meets his cousin, Rachel, and his uncle. And we meet up with Lavan, who is a con artist, a liar, a manipulator. And Yaakov has to deal with this. And he works for him. And he changed his deal that Lavan had made with Yaakov, how he's going to compensate him 100 times. Because every time he saw Yaakov was having success, he became jealous, and he wanted to hold more for himself and give less to Yaakov. And Yaakov suffered 7 years working to marry his first wife, Rachel, and he gave Leah instead. He fooled him. Another 7 years to marry Rachel, the second 7 years to marry Rachel, and then another 6 years he worked for him. Well, he had most of his children. And at some point he said, it's enough. It's time to go home. And he wants to separate himself from his father-in-law. And he wants to take what he worked for. And his father-in-law again tried to fool him. But Yaakov, with God's blessing, was able to leave with the bulk of what anyways happened because of the blessing of him being in Lavan's house. And when he tells his wives, Rachel and Leah, that it's time to leave, he sits them down and he says a few words that are very powerful. You know, he said, Ki b'chol koichi avadati es avichem, that I worked for your father with all my might. I worked very hard for him. And what is he trying to say? I worked hard for him. Is Yaakov trying to boast that he's a hard worker? He's a workaholic? What is he saying? I worked hard. So Yaakov is telling his wife Rachel and Leah that though your father is a con artist, a liar, changes his mind every moment, always tries to change things on the ground and promises something and tries to backtrack, it never affected my level of honesty and sincerity and dedication, commitment to my work. When I took upon myself to work, whatever I took upon myself to do, I did completely and fully. I was honest. I put in the time. I never took a moment off for my personal time. I never lied to him. I never just skipped work for some pleasurable times. I was committed and dedicated as if he was himself committed and dedicated to me, because it doesn't make a difference how he behaved. My behavior is a reflection of myself. And even when we deal with people who are not straight, who are not nice, it doesn't give us the permission to behave like them as well. Now obviously we should not be pushovers and let people take advantage of us and walk all over us and just turn the other cheek. That's not the Jewish way. But the Jewish way is, though we stand firm, when we take a commitment, we keep it. Even if it's not as exciting as it was when we took the commitment. Even if it's not dealing with the best person. We don't give ourselves an excuse because they slack off, we're going to slack off. When you want to leave, you leave properly like Jacob left. He told his father-in-law, I want to leave, let's settle now. He didn't just pick up and take what he thought was his and leave. And that is such an important Jewish value, honesty. And though it may seem that by cutting corners and being dishonest, we get ahead quicker, sometimes we get further ahead, it will always catch up to us. Not only in our relationships with other people, and we may be at the top of the hill in terms of richness, but alone because no one likes us or trusts us, wants to be in our environment, but we're not happy either. And we don't feel fulfilled, and it's empty. But in the long run, honesty really works out, because people trust those that are honest. And one day, when they really need to talk to someone, or they're really in a bind, the first one they'll come to is the honest person. And I can illustrate you many stories, but it's not for this video. And that's what we learn from Yaakov. A Jew is always honest. Whatever they commit themselves to, they fulfill, they do. And Hashem is ultimately the one who pays us for our hard work. And Hashem will recognize it and will give you what you deserve. But more importantly, you will feel great. You will feel wholesome. You will never look back and say, but I should have, I could have. You'll always look back and say, I know that I lived the way I should live and have no regrets. So may God bless you all. We love you all. Shabbat Shalom. Candlelight time, Montreal 3:15.